Hi everyone. Now I'm going to demonstrate the State Board chemical wave or permanent wave, and this is a 20-minute procedure. The proctor will say you're now going to perform the chemical wave, which is the 5th operation. You're going to wrap the tire center back from crown to nape in rollers, and you're going to step back and do nothing once you've done that. And then after that, they're going to ask you to demonstrate saturation, and they're also going to ask you to demonstrate a test curl, and they're going to ask you to pull one rod all the way out. What they're doing is looking for even placement of the hair around the rod, that there's no fish hooks, and that you have even sections throughout. I recommend 8 to 10 of the purple rods. They seem to go in really nicely. And you're never going to do anything unless instructed. I know sometimes people, when they think the perm section, they think, okay, wrap the rollers and then start doing the simulation. No, you got to step back and wait for them to tell you that. So you won't be prepping with cotton or anything like that until they ask you to do so. And that's when you're going to be wearing your gloves, which is very important. The gloves, the cotton, the protective cream, the double draping for the client. You want to make sure everything's labeled in English as it is, everything's clean, and that we subsection the hair. I'm going to subsection it so that it actually will move into the color operation next very easily, so that you just have to split this down the middle afterwards and add it to your quadrants. So this is 20 minutes, and the proctor will let you know when you have 10 minutes remaining, and that's it. So I'm going to set this down. And I don't have a proctor here today, so I'm just gonna prompt myself to get ready to begin. You may begin. Sanitize. I know you can't see my table right now. I just wanted to make it a little bit closer so that you could maybe see how I section this. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a mohawk section right at the crown, because the crown is where you're going to begin your sectioning down the center back with the rollers. And this area, this mohawk section in the center, this rectangular that I'm creating, rectangular section, is going to be for where you have to do the highlights when we do the color section. So I'm just going to get this out of the way, because that is going to be one of your sectionings for your foils later, not now, but I just like to have this done so then you don't have to do too much later. I know this is going into the timing of the 20-minute permanent wave, but really you guys will be able to get 8 to 10 rollers in very easily. All right, so I've sectioned this out of the way. Now I'm going to go down the parietal ridge behind the ear and get the front section out of the way. This is going to be where your strand test is. And I'm going to follow this mohawk guide down the back, because this is where your perm is going to go down the center. And then we'll put some more hair into this one later for how we have these sectioned off for when we do the color operations. So another way to make sure that you've got your center back nice and even is you can take your roller and guide it down to make sure that is the right width for your rollers. They will be checking that. You don't want to have too much hair in a roller. Just going to get this side done. And then go back and remeasure it just to make sure, because you don't want to have hair coming from too far off. So this looks a little bit wide to me. So I'm just going to go take a little bit of hair out of here and move it over into this section. And like I said, sectioning is so important. If you get the sectioning done, then everything will flow a lot smoother for you than having to be right in the middle of doing something and then you have to go back and resection. So that's why I like to take this time, even though it's cutting into my operation. I know this is a good length, so now I'm gonna begin. And once you have all this hair out of the way, it makes it much easier. I'm gonna re-dampen this a little bit. I've got my papers and my comb and my rollers, and be good to go. So make sure that the little base section that you take, the panel here, that it is no bigger than the diameter of your roller that you're using. So this is, I don't know, about a ½ inch. That looks good. So I'm gonna hold this straight up. And I do like a double wrap. Spray, because you want all those ends to lay flat. Have the paper go past and then roll it. I like to rock it just a tiny bit. It seems to make it lay nice. And you want it to be fairly on base, but maybe a little bit off, because then it won't be too tight. And you want to make sure your band is on the top, or not on the very base, because that would cause breakage. They're looking for that. Sometimes you can just twist the little lid a little bit, and the little hook lid, and it holds it in place a little bit better while you're getting them all in. And then you can just go ahead and readjust and make sure the bands are not at the base. I want to make sure you guys can see this okay. Hopefully you can. If I went in another direction, it would just be showing my back. So just make sure that when you're taking your sections, that the hair is no wider than the length of the rod and no thicker than the diameter of the rod. And that will help you make a good section. Once again, make sure you get those ends tucked in nicely. As you're working down the head, sometimes you might need to tilt the doll head a little bit, but if to get to the nape hairs, I'm pretty sure you guys can handle it okay, and just kind of not bend down, but ergonomics wise, you don't want to be bending down too much. So if you do need to tip the doll a little bit, for instance, you can. This doll is pretty tight, so I really can't. So keep working my way down. I've got 3 done. 5 to go, or 6, however many it takes. They're looking to make sure that your sections that you're taking are all similar. That would make a similar curl pattern. Also, you don't want too much hair in a roller, because then if you were doing a real perm with saturation, it might not go through all of the hair to the cortex and might create a loose curl. Continue down. So this hair right here is just kind of falling out of the way, so you can always resection that just to make sure that it's out of the way. When you get down past the occipital, you want to make sure that you kind of hold it out straight, because if you hold it down low, it's going to really be off base. So try to pull it out at a 90 degree from wherever you are, so that it'll lay a little bit more on base. Half on base is good for perms. Full base is not good because it's too much tension. And And as you go down, you'll notice that it might come a little narrower. The hair might be a little bit less than up at the top at the crown, but that's okay. They should all lay nicely. For the purpose of the examination. You just want to make sure that the row looks neat, you know? You don't want all the different rollers to look different. You want it to look the same, so that's how a regular perm would come out. So I've got 2, 4, 6, and I've got 2 more spots here, and that'll work out perfectly for me. I've got one hair coming from the side here. I want to get rid of that. Put that over my other clip. When the hair's coming out from another side, you really don't want to bring it in because it'll be stretching the hair and it's just not meant to be there. I'll show you this once I get it all done because I know all you can do is see it from the side. Last one. There we go. Hold it out again. Don't hold it down. Hold it kind of 90 degree. Kind of rock it a little bit. If you do one and it doesn't turn out right, just take it out and do it again. Got to make sure that the bands are not at the base. So they are going to drag a little bit when you do that, but they want to see that the bands are showing to you and not hurting the hair. Okay, so let me pull that out, show you guys. So there you got them all in a row. The hair is spread out across the rods all evenly. And so once you do that step, then you are going to sanitize your hands and step back and wait for the proctor to tell you what else to do. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to demonstrate saturation. So she's telling me demonstrate saturation. So that's what I'm going to do. So at this time, I'm going to put my gloves on. I had just stepped back, so that means I had to sanitize again. At this step, I recommend make sure you do not put too much sanitizer on, because then when you put your gloves on, it kind of is a pain in the rear end, makes it hard to get them on. So don't put too much on. Okay, so I'm safe. She's safe. Now we're going to put some protective cream on her. I have a spatula here that I can remove the protective cream. And you really only need to put it around the nape, right where the skin is showing, right down there. Get rid of your spatula. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put cotton around. Some people just put it down here. I like to put it all the way around. I think it looks better. It shows client protection better, but I believe State Board accepts both. But I would like you guys to do it this way. I think it shows better client protection. And now I am going to, I'm actually just going to use a little bit of the extra perm papers to kind of help support if any dripping happens when I'm doing this. So now I'm going to demonstrate saturation. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Make sure not to touch the tip onto the hair. Stay just away from the hair. And have something, whether it's a little bit of cotton or some surface, a towel or whatever, just to help if there's any extra dripping that you want to make sure you're protecting your client throughout. So once you've applied your solution without touching the hair with the tip of this, set that down, put the lid on it, garbage, maybe sanitize with gloves on just in case. And then you're gonna step back again. So now what's gonna happen is the proctor's gonna come over and she's gonna say, can you demonstrate a test curl? So then you're gonna demonstrate a test curl. I like to take it maybe just one or two down from the top, because the top one, if you pull that one out for a test curl, it might be hooked onto the top of the cotton. So just take one that's a little bit down. You're gonna wanna come straight out and just watch it flop over like that. That's demonstrating the test curl. Then you're gonna roll it back up once they've seen it. And then the next thing that you're gonna do is they're gonna ask you to remove one rod. What they're wanting to see is that you had a good placement with your papers and that the hair did not have any fish hooks in it. So, and then you'll just remove that all together. And then they will let you know when you can remove your rods. So then when you remove your rods, and you can, then I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And I'm gonna show you one easy step for getting ready for the color and chemical straight. So remember the perm rods are items to be disinfected, and the papers are put in the garbage. And make sure when you're taking the rollers out, like they might watch you do it, you wanna make sure you do it gently, because it's the hair, if it was a real perm, it would be fragile right now after having a chemical service. So just make sure to take care with the hair. Make this go a little quicker here. So what I'm going to do, that it's going to make it so easy for when you do the color and the next setup, is just split this down the middle, we just did for the perm, and add these into the two over there. And then you have your quadrants, and you'll be all set up for when you have to do your predisposition test, your strand test, your 4 foils, your root touch-up, and your virgin chemical straight, and then your blood exposure. So there you go. Let me show you that, how it's all split.